I've always had a dream and a desire to become an entrepreneur in some sort of way.
We were pushing it. We were just following forward.
Let's add we had $0.
Hope y'all are ready. Buckle up because it's going to be a crazy ride. Welcome, champions, to the podcast of champions. Hope y'all are doing good. I am Nick, or also known as Jamie Stanley, and this is my lovely wife,
Renee Stanley, for these purposes.
For podcast purposes. You ready to go?
I'm ready. What are we talking about today?
You got your coffee. We got our very well-placed Zoa energy drinks.
They really are the best.
Yeah.
We got a new location, just so we can see the ring a little bit better.
Yes. We're very well-centered, at least video-wise, not necessarily in our lives, because running a business is crazy.
That's what we're going to talk about today.
We're going to talk about how we decided to open a business and the steps that we took in opening that business.
Yeah, we teased it in episode 1 a little bit about we talked about why we wanted to start it, and then we teased that the process was crazy and wild things happened to get us to where we're at today. And entrepreneurship has definitely taught us a lot of lessons in the short 5 months that we've been in business, but we wanted to chat and let you guys in on what that process really looked like.
Yeah, we talked about like our values and our vision and our dreams and our goal and the atmosphere and everything that we wanted to build with the HOC, but now we're going to get a little bit tactical. We're going to get in the weeds, talking about what specific steps, how long the process took, what it transformed into from what it started with and what it ended up with. So yeah, hope y'all are ready. Buckle up because it's going to be a crazy ride.
So I think where we should start is when we moved to Florida, because that's when everything all the wheels started turning. Mm-hmm. So Nick and I are originally from Michigan. I'm from the Upper Peninsula, way up north by Canada. If you ever hear
Narnia,
some of my words might sound Canadian. He's from the Lower Peninsula, so the hand. He's from here. If anybody's watching, do I have it backwards? He's from here. If anybody's watching on YouTube. And I'm from up here, right here. Still 8 hours apart, but we were both living in Nashville, Tennessee when we met. So we got married there. We lived there for 8 years. And then we decided to uproot our family. We had an 18-month-old when we moved to Florida to chase this wrestling dream and be closer.
In the middle of a pandemic,
yes.
June of 2020 is when we moved in. We hadn't even seen our house. We bought our house. The first time that we saw it was after we bought it, and we were there for our house inspection. So extremely huge leap of faith.
Yeah, we just felt like God was telling us to move to Florida. He always wanted to move to Florida because he had vacationed here as a kid, and just he had so much nostalgia, and he loved it. I, however, had never vacationed in Florida and didn't really have any desire to move to Florida. So when we got married, he said, we're going to move to Florida one day. And I was like, we'll see about that. And then I remember that January 2020, I woke up that morning and it was not one morning, but over the course of a few weeks, and felt like, okay, the calling had been on his heart for a while. Now God was starting to convict me and be like, yeah, you should probably make the leap of faith. So we did it.
Could be worse callings. Leave cold Michigan, semi-cold Nashville, and move to beautiful, sunny Orlando, Florida, where Disney is. I mean,
I like it now.
It's not a very hard call to answer.
It's very humid, but I do love it now. It's been 3.5 years.
Can't shovel sunshine.
Florida's been good to us, which is an understatement.
Absolutely.
So
we love it here.
We moved in June 2020, like he said, and about a year into moving, I'd say, we started craving something more within wrestling. Obviously, we were still chasing his wrestling dream, but I've always had a dream and a desire to become an entrepreneur in some sort of way, whether it was write a book. Everybody seems to want to write a book these days. So that was like the first one, which we will do that one day. Just that's not on the docket for right now. And then the other one was, maybe we start a podcast. Like we want to share our faith and like how God's been faithful to us and how following him has just blessed us and listening to his call. And that podcast was going to be called House of Champions. And we have the podcast art made. we could actually pop it up on the screen. It's a silhouette picture of our family at the time. So there's one less kid in the picture, I think.
Very true.
Actually, no, I was pregnant. So I think we did like have a little picture of Josie on it. I don't know. I don't remember it, but it's up on the screen right now. And whatever is there, I know it's our family.
Yeah, and we even bought equipment. Like we were ready to go. We even started we recorded our first little test run episode, a 5-minute episode, and it was terrible.
It was bad.
But yeah, we were ready to go. But then we kind of just lost passion and fire for it. Like we did that first episode and we were all gung ho, and then, days went by and eventually weeks and months went by, and all the equipment started getting dust on it, and we were like, I just don't think, not necessarily that this isn't it, but not right now. Would you agree?
That's exactly what it was. We were so passionate and on fire, and we filmed it, and then just nothing happened, and it didn't feel right. So we stored it, didn't think about it for a while, decided that it needed to be something else. And then I'd say, what do you think? August, September 2022 was when we started thinking, hey, like, should we open a gym?
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to own a gym. And originally, before pro wrestling, it was just going to be a commercial gym with weights. And then that's even kind of what we started talking about when Renee and I first started talking about opening a gym. But then it obviously naturally shifted to, well, I'm a pro wrestler, so why not open a pro wrestling gym? But we wanted to open something a little bit different than what we have now. We wanted it to be a commercial gym that also had a wrestling ring in it. And stop me if I'm getting too far ahead. But kind of like the template of the UFC gym, where anybody can join. There's an octagon or a cage, whatever, in each gym, but there's also weights, and John Q. Public can go there and work out, and they don't necessarily need to be a trained MMA fighter or signed to UFC or anything like that. And there's chains, and they scaled it, and it's nationwide. So that's originally what our plan was to kind of take that UFC gym model and apply it to pro wrestling.
No, that was exactly the vision that we had. And then I remember I took a work trip to Nashville, and my hotel I stayed at was right outside the D1. If anybody knows what D1 Athletics is, it's a giant warehouse gym. The original D1 is in Nashville, in Franklin, Tennessee. And I was sitting right outside of it, and I used to work out there when I lived there. And I remember I was doing Bible study one morning, and I was just staring at it. And I was like, well, maybe it's a D1. Like, that's like with the turf, and it's very athlete-based. Obviously, like a lot of high school students go there to train for collegiate sports. And so I remember I called him, and we're like, maybe we should look into franchising that. And he said, yeah, we actually had a call with D1 Franchise.
We did.
Realized we weren't even close to the amount of money we needed to open that.
Well, not only that, but also working within the parameters of a franchise, is we had to comply with a lot of the things that they had for their standards. And for instance, I don't even think they said we could have a ring.
That was the big thing. Yeah. We said, can we put a wrestling ring in it? And they said, no, but you could have 2 units, and the unit on the other next to you could have the wrestling ring, but it would have to be a separate business entity. I'm like, well, that gets kind of dicey when it comes to memberships, because then why would it, the whole point is wrestling. Why would I even encourage anybody to sign up for my D1? Like when we're trying to launch a wrestling gym. So it just didn't make sense.
Yeah. Just long story short, a lot of the things that they told us that they would have to impose upon us didn't allow us the creative freedom of what we wanted to match our vision with the HOC. So after that, we were kind of like, well, I feel like God's telling us to start our own thing.
Yep. And so we weren't quite sure what to do with that, because that means no franchisee support. Like, it's literally building it from the ground up. So we're like, well, what do we do? Mom said, well, the one thing that we know how to do and are equipped to do is to build a business plan. I'm a corporate marketer, and he's a pro wrestler that has tons of experience in the industry. Let's build the plan that outlines everything from what we want the brand to be, what the marketing is going to look like, how we're going to make money, the strategy behind it, the financials needed, the scenarios, the low, high, medium scenarios that we could look at. the membership pricing, and that's a lot. Like basically, we wanted to end up with we could hand this over to a bank.
Yeah, and she's underselling herself. Like the document that she made, it was top notch, and people took that and saw it, and they're like, man, this is pretty much airtight. This looks great. And so she spent hours and hours and days and months, probably 3 months, yeah, crafting that thing and continuing to play with the numbers. Every night she would just say, let me run the numbers. When I'd ask her a question, I'd say, what about this? Let me run the numbers. What about that? Let me run the numbers. What are we having for dinner? Let me run the numbers. It was that ingrained in her that and in us that like this was a living, breathing document that we basically mess with morning, noon, and night. And so we'll have to I don't know if there's some way we can maybe share like screenshots of that or something like that. Because
maybe.
It was intense, and that thing was impressive.
It came out to be like 40 slides.
Yeah.
I think lots of scenarios, and you touched on it a few minutes ago, but what we started with that document was still the commercial gym idea. So we were going to go build the commercial gym. It was going to be pro wrestling classes offered that would be the school, like we do have, but it really would have been open to the public. The amount, after building the document, what we realized is that was going to cause or need a lot of investment. Of course, the facility required for that would have been insane. But that, we felt like God was going to provide. So once the plan was done and we had it vetted through business coaches, friends, family, we felt good about the money we needed. I'll tell you what, there were two scenarios. We were either going to need $500,000 or we were going to need like $200,000 based on like if we went really big or we went somewhat moderate.
Either way, lots of money we needed.
Oh, and
that we didn't have.
Let's add we had $0. So we made the business plan praying and hoping and knowing that God was like would what's the word I'm looking for? Would deliver it on the other end of it. We said that a few times, like, let's just make the plan. We'll know what to do after it.
If you build it, they will come. I've heard that somewhere.
Yes, which from a business perspective, I don't believe, but yes.
It's worked with us, though.
So we built it. I remember we finished it and we're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Okay, it's done. We said we would know what to do after it was done. I don't know what to do.
We're like, do we shop this around to investors? Do we hit up Shark Tank? Like, what do we do here? Because we had this awesome document that we spent so much time on, and then we didn't know what to do with it, who to give it to, where to go from here.
And one thing that I learned, a lot of small business loans, like you need 3 years of financials to submit for small business loans. Yeah, there's exceptions, but a lot of them like want you to prove.
Apparently you can't just go out and say, hey, I'm going to start this business. Give me $1 million. Trust me, it's going to be great.
It's probably smart that you can't do that. Everybody has the $1 million idea. Yep. So I now realize that naivety, like I was naive thinking we could just start from scratch. But we were like, okay, we can't go get $1 million without any proven record of success. So what do? Well, our bright idea was we're going to go find a realtor with no money. We felt like God was telling us, go just find a realtor. We're like, okay. So I remember we found a realtor. We called him. He's like, great. What are you looking for? We went through the plan. We told him we wanted like a 4,000 square foot warehouse. We were looking for something dark with like black walls. It had to have garage doors.
Very CrossFit-esque.
Yeah.
With a big black box.
But it had to be state of the art because a part of our whole proposition of what we were trying to launch was professionalism and excellence. And you can't have a dump when that's what your whole brand is built on. So let's sum it up. We want something that's state of the art, 4,000 square feet, beautiful, ready to go, turnkey. Oh, and we have no money. Impossible. Like it's dumb. Looking back, we look back and we're like, what were we thinking? But like it really proves, God's faithfulness, and like I feel like He put blinders on us so we wouldn't have as much fear. We had fear. I don't want to say that wasn't scary, but like we definitely walked forward with faith we probably shouldn't have had.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. Looking back, there were a lot of quote unquote dumb things that we did, just diving headlong into this, but I'm glad that we walked forward and sprinted forward with blind faith, because if we sat down and actually crunched the numbers, we crunched the numbers a million times, but if we sat down and thought about things and didn't just follow God, we would have been like, oh man, we can't do this, or we'd probably still be in the planning stages. Or I'm very proud of us for just charging through and following with that faith.
Same. Same. So we called the realtor. We told him what we wanted, and we had no money, and we didn't hear from him after that. It's a true story.
Yeah.
He kind of ghosted us.
Yep.
So we called our residential realtor and asked if they had a commercial realtor on staff, to which they did, and she sent us over Tim, who was just an angel sent to us. He's British, and we love him. Thank you, Tim. And he Cheers. He found a few places, and we had one on the books that we were going to go see because he was sending us stuff. Remind you, the other realtor sent us nothing and ghosted us. So he was sending us stuff. He was very realistic that he felt like our budget was slim. He's like, you guys, $3,000 a month is not going to get you a 4,000 square foot place that you're looking for. But he, God bless him, like just kept looking, kept with us, was patient with us. And then he sent us this building one day. He emailed it to me because it wasn't on the market. He said, listen, this isn't on the market. I have a friend who I'm friends with because he's a realtor and his wife was British. So like they knew each other through something. He's like, he sent this to me and said, hey, I have a landlord that's thinking about putting this on the market, but there's a few restrictions behind it. For one, it's a short lease. She doesn't want anybody to come in and change it drastically. So don't rip the turf up. Don't like change things, like paint it. Basically, don't touch the building, which when you lease a place, if you're the leasee, you have a lot of flexibility in changing the building the way that you need to do it. So we're like, well, let's just go look at it. It looks amazing. So we walked in here, man, and it just blew us away.
Yeah, we were wowed. They had state-of-the-art weights here already that you've probably seen if you've watched the cribs.
Yeah.
They had, we walked in and they were just so welcoming. They had, it was super clean. It was the vibey feel, the black walls, everything that we wanted. They had the turf, obviously. Basically, all we needed to do was if we wanted to purchase this place was to set up a wrestling ring because it was so ready to go and so exactly what we were looking for that it was pretty wild.
Yeah, and Stephanie, our landlord and now friend, had an amazing business in here before, Pro Swings. I know we mentioned that on the earlier podcast, but she had a private softball training facility, and she's just been amazing and supportive, and we love her and truly feel like, this place wasn't even on the market. Like God orchestrated something super cool and sent this to us. So back to the business side of things, when we walked in here, we still wanted a commercial gym, mind you. That
Open
was
to everybody, not just pro wrestlers.
That was the business plan. So we left here that day telling Stephanie it wouldn't work and Tim it wouldn't work because we only get like 10 parking spots and like it just wasn't, the space was cool, but we weren't going to be able to make that work purely because of parking. And we're like, well, that stinks. This was perfect, but it's not going to work. And I remember on the way home in the car, we were both really quiet. And out of nowhere, and I just kept thinking this, out of nowhere, I said, hey, what do you think about just making this a private pro wrestling facility? Like not a commercial gym. And he goes, oh my gosh, I was just thinking the same thing. And what did I say next? I said, okay, let me run the numbers.
Yes, exactly. Of course. Yeah, no, God really forced our hand on that one because it was funny. We're going to backtrack a lot in this story and kind of bounce back and forth. But at this point, we had invested in a business coaching group that we met weekly and monthly with different people kind of helping us start this business. And the day before, we had a meeting with one of the guys, and we told him about our big grandiose idea about opening this big commercial gym that is open 24 hours and anybody can come and all the things that we want to eventually get to. But he said, what do you guys think about like just opening it up and starting small and kind of like niching it down to just pro wrestling? Because you have these big ideas and you can definitely get there, but you don't want to kind of open up too quick and get too big for your britches and, spread yourself too thin. So that kind of struck us and we were like, oh, well, I don't know, man. We weren't really thinking about that. Like, go big or go home. That's what we all always want to do. We want to open this huge thing. We feel like God would bless it and do all this and all that. And then coming the very next day after we were advised to kind of start off a little bit smaller and scale it after that, this came. So that was kind of like a double whammy of God saying, open it and start it off. I'm going to bless it, but you need to trust me. And humble beginnings. I mean, if you look around, these aren't necessarily humble beginnings, because look at how beautiful this facility is. But humble compared to what we thought that we were going to open. So it just in entrepreneurship and business ownership in general, it takes being flexible and being able to roll with the punches and make quick decisions, even if they don't fit what you originally thought that they were going to do. So we really had to pivot quickly if we were thinking about getting this place.
Yeah, because she wanted to move fast. So I'm glad you brought that up. I completely forgot about that aspect of the story, and it was important. Let's add a time frame to this to let you guys know how quickly this was. So business plan started September, finished business plan end of December, early January. Reached out to realtor end of January, early February.
Yep.
The day we missed a part in the story again. The day we reached out to the realtor, we had no money in our bank account. And that night, we went to bed with
an extra
$100,000. We had very, very loving family.
Renee robbed a bank.
No, I did not. Very loving family find out about our dreams that offered up an investment. So we didn't have to go to a bank. And we owe them greatly, to which we will pay them back.
In more ways than one.
Yes. But our investment for this place came from our family. So we're super thankful for that. And that money was the reason we were able to come in confidence too, and come into here and know we had some money coming, or already like ready to go when it was time to pull the trigger. And that trigger came way faster than we anticipated. So that money came in early February. I believe we stepped foot in this building mid-February, end of February.
Yeah.
The first time we saw it. And then that kick-started the negotiations with Stephanie to get the lease hammered out. That took about 4 weeks.
It was so quick.
It was so fast. And she was so great just with our needs, and we both, it just meshed perfectly.
Yeah, she, like, our realtors usually would talk to each other, but we kind of went under the table behind their backs and came here and talked to Stephanie personally, which is apparently a kind of a faux pas.
They were mad at us.
It's a no-no.
Yeah, they were not happy.
It really helped grease the wheels and just cultivate our relationship, because we're really good friends now, and we probably wouldn't have been unless we did that.
Yeah, because, it's all hearsay, right? Like, the realtor calls are like, well, so-and-so said this. And you're like, what?
We
they
thought
want
that
this?
we thought that she was being difficult. And we were like, oh, man, I don't know about this Stephanie. And then we actually came and talked to her again, and, like, realized nothing could be farther from the truth. Like, she's a sweetheart. And she was so ready and willing and just up for helping us. And
this reminds me of a little bit of a tangent. One of my favorite business stories is Sarah Blakely at Spanx. Like, I love her. I love her business stories. But I will always remember a part of her story was when she started Spanx, she shopped around Spanx to, I think it was Macy's and Dillard's, like the big box stores. And people asked her, how did you get this? Like, how'd you sell this in? And she's like, oh, I got a meeting with so-and-so. And they're like, well, how did you do that? Did you go to, like, the distribution show? Like, apparently they're supposed to, like, go show them at big buying conferences first, and then the buyers see it and they buy it. She goes, no, I requested a meeting and I went in her office. And they were like, well, that's not how this works. She goes, but the beauty of it is I didn't know how it works, so I did it the way that I wanted to do it. And I love that, because that kind of reminds me of us and Stephanie. Like, we didn't know how to negotiate a lease. We had no idea how any of this was supposed to work. So I had Stephanie's number. So I was like, screw this, like, I'm just going to call her and we're going to hammer this out. And we kind of wrote the lease together, which is definitely not how the realtors would have preferred it. But it worked out. Ignorance
is bliss. Claim ignorance and just ask for forgiveness later is the moral of that story. Because, yeah, it definitely helped us out. And, yeah, it wouldn't have happened so smoothly or so quickly if we didn't do it that way.
Still love Tim, though. Realtors were great.
Man.
Sorry, Tim, for going the wrong way. So we got the lease set. And I think the one shocking thing in the lease was she wanted us to take residency April 1st.
And this was?
It was March 1st, I think.
Yeah.
That we were like finalizing and signing. And we didn't have the money transferred over from our family. We had to get our own investment money set up. Like, we were waiting on bonuses to use. We didn't have a head trainer. we didn't have the ring. I was like, oh my gosh, we have to buy so much. So we got all that figured out, ran the numbers 100 times a day, making sure we were staying within budget, and started calling and just hustled, really. When we got it all done within 4 to 6 weeks, I want to say.
June 1st was we
May 4th was our grand opening, our soft
Okay,
opening.
okay.
Yeah.
May the 4th be with you.
So May 4th, 5, and 6 were our soft openings. So all of that happened quite quickly.
Yeah, it was, man, and it's been that way the entire time, just flying by the seat of our pants. Like, I can't believe we've already been open, 5 months now? And just think about it, like, January of this year, 9 months ago, we just had a business plan. And look at us now. It's pretty wild. We need to remind ourselves of that a lot, because we're like, oh, I want 50 members yesterday, and I want to scale, and I want to go worldwide, and I want to go to Tokyo, and all these things. You probably want to go to Tokyo.
I do. Can you imagine the sushi?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We should go to Tokyo.
Okay.
That's beside the point.
Go to New Japan.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
But aggressive patience, I think, is the term that really encapsulates that, because you have to wait on these things for things to clear, for things to happen, and all the rigmarole. But also, like, we were pushing it, we were just following forward, just to make sure that, like, we're there and we're ready to go and we're available. So being available and being ready to pull that proverbial trigger once your name is called, definitely.
Yeah. I remember calling the family and saying, make the transfer. And then we had $100,000 in our bank account, more money than I had ever seen. Money that, like, obviously wasn't even mine. It was the business's. And side note, it is not things that you would think are easy when opening a business. I think one of the things that I struggled with most was the order of how to do things. So you think, like, oh, I'll go open a checking account so I can start spending the money. No, you need, like, the EIN number, like your federal number first. And then you needed to be registered with the state for this, because we're technically a health studio. Oh, and then also you need your permits your business tax receipt, which is county based in Florida. So what I have heard from our business coaches was Florida is actually a pretty easy state to open a business in. I can't even imagine opening a business like in New York. So I've heard that it's insane, because the steps here, although they weren't like an insane amount, no one gives you like I felt like it was like the DMV, right? Like, you go to change your tags, they're like, oh, well, you need this, this, and this. And you're like, well, they said I can't get this until I get this. And then you get sent back and forth. That's kind of how it felt at times. So that time, the 4 to 6 weeks that we just glossed over super quickly, was super stressful, making sure that everything was in line. One thing we didn't mention was insurance. That was a nightmare. Yeah. We didn't know if we were going to be able to open. As you can imagine, can you think finding an insurance agency that wants to take on the liability for a pro wrestling gym? I don't blame them. It was a hard fight to try and find liability insurance for this, which
lasted probably a month or two trying to find it, right?
Yeah, we were starting to risk manage if we had to push the soft opening back. We
contemplated riding dirty for a minute, y'all, without insurance, because it was expensive, the full coverage that we thought that we needed to get.
Yeah. It was stressful, but God delivered. Again, last minute, made us wait on that one, but we opened on time, so I was thankful for that.
Yep. So, okay, so we're up to speed on finally opening.
Opened.
So we had a soft opening. Yep.
We got 11 members, I want to say. It was 11 or 12 out of the soft opening. Mm-hmm. Our goal was, I want to say 10, so we exceeded our soft opening goal, and we're now 5 months in, and we're at 25 members.
Yes.
Which has been, we got 12, that soft opening. So you think, oh, getting to 30 is going to be no problem. No, it's like, it is such a numbers game, people.
Yeah, you need to have 1 million people come in through the door just to get one membership. And we want them to fit our culture and our atmosphere and our values, because there's a lot of people that come in and we don't necessarily push it that hard, because we're like, I don't really see that person here because they don't really fit. So that's another thing. And also, it's such a head game, because like some weeks you can be like, we got 3 new members, and then the next week you can be like, oh, we lost 3 members. And it's happened before in consecutive weeks. So just maintaining that neutrality and realizing that it is a long game, it is a numbers game, and people are going to come and they're going to go, and we can't take it personally.
I tell our students, some of them are interested in business and in college, and they help us with our side real wrestling experience offering. And I always tell them, how do you double your business? You double your leads. And it is just a numbers game. You got to get people in here. We have to accept personally. We used to beat ourselves up when we'd go home and we'd have like 4 newbies and none of them signed up. We're like, oh, we suck at this. Like, we can't sell.
Which we did, and we're still learning. We're still getting better.
Do we need to hire a sales guy that actually knows how to do this? But then we have weeks where people come back and they sign up and we didn't expect.
Yep, out of nowhere.
Or we hear that a WWE superstar saw somebody in the gym and they referred them to our gym and we didn't even know they knew about us. So it's a long game. It's being patient. It's not beating yourself up constantly, which we're guilty of. And we're at 25 members, 5 months in, super blessed, love every single one of them. And we are capping at 32, which I think we've talked about on here, but if not, we're capping at 32 just because if you come to one of our classes, you'll realize they're full.
Yeah.
Which is great. We love it being full. But we have a lot that we offer our members outside of just training. Lots of classes, one-on-one time, coaching, development.
Career development.
And we want to ensure that we can take care of them all. And at 25, it's a lot. And I know at 32, like that'll be the number that we'll be set at.
Yeah, we already had to split classes from beginner to advanced just because we didn't want 25 people in there in the ring at once, because it takes away the one-on-one coaching and the intimacy and the eyes that you get on you. If there's one or two trainers and there's 25 people, they're not getting the attention that they deserve. So we've already done that, but that's why we're capping at 32, because we still want to be able to devote reasonable time to each person.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean we'll cap class drop-ins or
ring
time. Like, we're still open. Like, I don't want anybody to hear it.
And we are going to do a waiting list.
Yeah, there'll be a waiting list. We'll still take first-timers. If you love it and you want to sign up, you'll go on the waiting list. You'll get a call when a spot opens up. But that's purely for memberships, that where all, like, the extra stuff comes in.
Mm-hmm. But there are only 7 spots left. So what's our call to action, Renee?
Oh, you need to sign up. Today.
Yeah.
Because the memberships are where you get the full shebang, right? Like, you get the marketing classes, the improv, the promo, the one-on-one time, the full benefits of the facility, the cold plunge, the sauna, the weights, like everything. So that's what's included in the membership. The class is still open for drop-ins once we hit, but that's the distinction.
So let me ask you this, Miss Renee. What do you think has been the biggest surprise in these 5 months of owning a business?
Oh, so many. From, like, just in general?
Yeah. Something that you never saw coming.
I said this, I had an interview yesterday with Dennis, and how many people have an opinion about what you should do?
Everybody's a pro.
And Stephanie actually coached me through that from her time of opening a business. She said, you're going to be surprised who come out of the woodwork with ideas for you, and take all of them with a grain of salt. Not all ideas are bad, but by no means are all ideas good.
No, we appreciate it because they come with the best of intentions.
Yes,
but
100%. And I think learning how to accept all of it and not take it personal, of being like, wait, do you not think I'm doing a good job? Like, do you have so many better ideas for me? Which that's just pride coming in, to which, I'm working on. And I love a lot of the ideas we've gotten, we've implemented too. Mm-hmm. So I do appreciate the ideas, but that was probably the biggest surprise for me. Like, everybody has an opinion on what you should do with this place.
What about the thing that you're most grateful for, that you've loved the most?
Our members. Oh my gosh. We do grateful time in the Bible time in the morning, and I think usually every other day, one of mine are the members. They're just so great and eager and loving, and they've just accepted this culture the way we wanted them to, which is
we're family.
We're family. We want it to be positive and uplifting. We are not competing against each other here. That we are not. We are here to lift each other up, help each other succeed. We live by the 3 C's: no cursing, no complaining, and no criticizing.
And I will, a little caveat to that is we absolutely do compete with each other, but it's in the ring and it's in drills and it's to make each other better and more accountable. We don't bury each other or throw each other under the bus or try to get one up on each other like a lot of people do in pro wrestling and in entertainment and I guess in the world in general. We're here to build each other up, and the competition does that.
Well, like any team.
Yeah. But it's just like Renee touched on. It's like everybody is here to help each other, and there's no, cutting each other down or judging or making each other feel uncomfortable. Like it's a safe space where we all come to get better.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, your turn. What's the thing that surprised you the most?
I think it's the most surprising, and it's my favorite part. So I'm going to answer that.
Oh, that's cheating.
Once, yeah. Efficiency, baby.
Okay. We have time.
I think that it's the fact that it feels like we're parents to a bunch of kids. Like we have 25 kids, which I love, but they each have their own.
Does that mean we can stop having kids?
Well, we got 27 if you include the 2 kids that we have, and I'm not sure who's the craziest. They act like each other. Sometimes our members act like they're 4 and 2, and sometimes our real kids act like they're 30. It's crazy. So sometimes I get confused and mix them up. But the greatest part about it is like they are all individual people with like unique stories and unique lives, and they feel comfortable bringing that to us because they feel like we are their old parents, which is kind of bittersweet, I guess. I feel like I'm still hip.
You said hip on one of the other videos the other day, and I think Maddie came in and made fun of you. So you just said it again.
It's because she's like 20. She's one of my kids. So your kids are going to make fun of you. So I guess I better get used to that. But
Bet.
You got that Riz.
I don't know what that one means.
It's charisma.
Oh.
Obviously you don't have it. But I digress. Because, yeah, just being able to speak life into these guys and gals and do life with them, and they bring their baggage to us, and they're not afraid to do that. Like as soon as it's funny, we'll be out here training, and Renee will be in the office working, and a kid will roll out and go out and talk to her, and I'm like, oh, it's therapy time, which is good. Like that's why we opened this house, is to share the love of Jesus with others and lift each other up and speak life. And it's just awesome that it's happened even more than I thought. So that's the surprise, is like how eager these members are to just share with us and bring their things, their stuff to us. And it's awesome being able to help them with that and say, I went through that too, or I'm going through that as well. And, maybe talk to so-and-so, they're going through that as well. And just fellowshipping and being able to encourage and not just teach a headlock, but teach life values.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a good answer?
It was a good answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, you talked long enough for 2, so
I did.
It was good.
I cut long promos, baby.
You do. Yes.
Yeah.
Better to reel you in than try to pull you out, though. I was going to say, so we talked through how we started the place, kind of where we're at. What do you want to tease on, like, probably what's next?
Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah. Well,
I asked you a question.
what is next, Renee?
Well, I think I just asked my own question. That was brilliant. I could just do it.
You do that when you own your own business.
It's true. We have lots. I mean, we kind of chatted about how we originally saw this place being, and that doesn't mean we still don't want to get there. So we immediate next steps is this YouTube channel and growing it. And we want to really share our champions and grow,
highlight them,
their personal brands and who they are. Y'all, we have 25 incredibly unique people. Champions yes. In this house. They make us laugh. They make me mad. They make us cry. We had some tears the other night. They are amazing, amazing people with big dreams that are growing up before our eyes a little bit too, and learning things with us. So we're excited to start sharing their stories, and I hope y'all can get invested in them. I've been using a really cliche example because it's not relevant at all, but like think like Beverly, or what is it, the Desperate Housewives of like Beverly Hills, or like the Vanderpump Rules. Like you always pick your favorite character on those shows, right? I'm telling you, you have plenty to pick from here. They're all characters with unique, different personalities that are hilarious, and I'm just excited for you guys to start getting to know them, hopefully rooting for them, and really just supporting them because they're worth supporting.
Yeah. They all have very unique stories and motivations and just lives in general. And it's super cool to learn more about each person every single day. Like, man, I had no idea. Or, that's super interesting. Tell me more about that. So to be able to bring you guys into that too, like you guys are going to love what you get out of that.
Yeah. So I think that's first step is that, like, we're really focused on highlighting our champions within this channel. And then hitting 32 members. That's another one. That'll be a big milestone for us. Hopefully launching more classes, possibly hiring more staff. I would love to have a GM on staff within the next 6 months.
Yes.
That would be lovely because right now, owner-operator with 2 other full-time jobs.
And 2 kids.
And 2 kids can, it'd be nice to have someone else open the building some days. We'll still be here a lot, but I think that's an immediate next step. And then if we're talking long-term, we got big dreams. We got big goals. We want more of these. We want Hawks around the nation.
We want one in every major city. We want it to be just like we said. The original goal was the UFC gym, to scale it and take it to make pro wrestling bigger as in general, because there's such barriers and like gateways to get into it, which I don't think there should be, because it's been the most fulfilling, fun thing and hardest, challenging, whatever fun thing that I've ever done in my entire life, and I want to share that with people. So we want to take that all around the country and hopefully around the world someday, and share that pro wrestling dream with others.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, you want to be an NFL player as a kid. You know the steps. You know what to do. You go, you be a high school star. You go get signed to a college, likely D1, but that's not to say the others can't make it. And then you get scouted and you get recruited. Like, that's the steps on doing it. There aren't any steps within wrestling, and I'm not saying we've probably standardized it because it does look different.
But we'd like to.
Providing a way where people can train, where they don't have to, like, call up someone's brother in a backyard garage, like let's make it available and aware, like just the awareness of like how to train and become one.
And 99% of the wrestling facilities are in pole barns and strip malls, and they're dusty old warehouses with a 16-foot ring in a 15-foot space, so it barely fits, and it's a sweat box, and it's not professional, and it's not clean, and it's not state-of-the-art. So we have been blessed with the ability to have all of those things: a beautiful facility with a full-size ring, and it's clean, and it's state-of-the-art, and it's a good location. It has all these bells and whistles. So we want to replicate a training facility for a college or a pro team, to where they come and they are able to get the best possible care to put them in the best possible position to make that next step. So why not pro wrestling? We want to make training and nutrition and recovery and all of those things as normal and prevalent in pro wrestling as it is in other major sports, because it's as crucial, or even more, in my opinion, because we don't have an off season in pro wrestling. We're always traveling. We're always in cars and planes, buses, whatever. And then we go into the ring and beat our bodies up how they should not be beaten up, basically. So we need to standardize, I guess, for lack of a better term, or at least bring to the forefront, bring to the mainstream a different way, a better way of doing that sets the wrestlers up for success.
Yeah, and side note, I get asked sometimes, there's a lot of pro wrestling schools popping up. How do you feel about this? I love it. I love it. I hope and pray that this facility inspires other people to open up amazing facilities to train up wrestlers the way they should. There's been a few that have popped up recently that are beautiful, and I love seeing it, happy to support it. And what's the saying? Rising tide lifts all boats. And I like seeing it.
Yeah, it's not a zero-sum game. Like, we all can win. And the winner is the wrestler, the person who's training, and the fans. And, because they get better products, because there's better training, there's better wrestling, there's better nutrition, there's better training. So We say all that to say, like, we love that we may be a catalyst to a change of perspective and a change of philosophy in the industry, and we just are so excited for what's coming forward.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got left? Anything?
I think that's it. I think we covered it all.
Yeah,
Yep.
we talked for like 45 minutes.
Yep. We could keep talking,
I know.
but we'll save that for another one. So thanks, y'all. We love you. See you in the next one.
Love you guys.